Welcome to the live discussion of India versus Australia, third ODI. I have Rupesh with me and definitely we are here to talk about a lot of things. Rupesh, इसके पहले मैं किसी भी डिस्कशन को शुरू करूं, जो सबसे बड़ा कंसर्न इस वक्त बना हुआ है सभी फैंस के पास, मैं कहूंगी जो थोड़ा सा डर भी है कि हमारा एक स्ट्रीक चला आ रहा है इंडिया का। 2019 में लास्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने हमको हराया था ओडीआई सीरीज में, होम सीरीज की बात करूंगी। उसके बाद से कंटिन्यूअसली अभी तक इंडिया ने 7 होम सीरीज मैचेस खेले हैं, होम ओडीआई सीरीज खेली हैं और सब इंडिया लगभग जीतती हुई आ रही है। तो ऐसे केस में ये सीरीज डिसाइडर है, क्योंकि इंडिया ने ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने दोनों ने एक मैच जीत रखा है इस सीरीज में और ये डिसाइडर है। सामने एक बहुत ही टफ बॉलिंग लाइनअप है। आपको क्या लगता है कि ये डर कहाँ किस हद तक सही है इंडियन फैंस का और कितने चांसेस है इंडिया के इस मैच में?
Hi, Rajsi. So, as far as the chances of conceding this ODI series is concerned, I think if the fans are worried, if the Indian fans are worried, I think there is a genuine reason for them to be worried, because obviously we have not played really well. So far we had a horrid run in the first ODI. Thankfully, because of the way KL Rahul and Ravindra Jadeja played, and rescued us after a batting collapse that we suffered in the first ODI at Wankhede. We were fortunate because they showed a lot of resilience and tenacity. So uske baad, I think in Vizag, the way we collapsed again, and unfortunately there was no one in that second ODI to rescue us the second time around. So obviously, the way Mitchell Stark has been bowling, there are obviously reasons to be worried about. So if the fans are worried कि हम शायद concede करते हैं series, as you rightly pointed out कि last हमने 2019 में की थी, and it was Australia who beat us at home 3-2. We were as far as that series is concerned, we were leading 2-0, but unfortunately we lost 3 games on the trot back to back, Ranchi, mein, Mohali and Hyderabad. So yeah, but again, I think we should show some faith in our batters, because we have world-class batters in our batting lineup. And just 2 games, it actually happens to the best of the people. So I think थोड़े सा अगर if they could apply themselves in Chennai, then we might manage to keep that record intact.
राइट, कंसर्न ये माइट ही है सभी इंडियन फैंस को, बट वी हैव प्रत्यय विद अस टू टॉक अबाउट द सेम. प्रत्यय, वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस सीरीज पर्टिकुलरली सिंस ये डिसाइडर है और इंडिया की एक बहुत ही अच्छी विनिंग स्ट्रीक अभी अपने होम ओडीआई सीरीज में हो रखी है. लास्ट 7 सीरीज हमने कंटिन्यूअसली जीते हैं, उसी पर डिस्कस कर रहे थे. बट यहाँ पर मैं आपका एक ओपिनियन लेना चाहूंगी अबाउट चेन्नई की हीट, बिकॉज ऐसा कहा जा रहा है कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया का सिर्फ एक एनिमी इंडिया नहीं है, बल्कि चेन्नई की हीट भी है. और वो इतना बड़ा कंसर्न है इस वक्त क्योंकि ऑस्ट्रेलियंस की इतनी ज्यादा हैबिट नहीं है इंडियन हीट को झेलने की, जो हमारे टीम मेंबर्स जानते हैं. अब होम कंडीशन का फायदा जरूर मिलेगा, बट क्या ये इतना बड़ा थ्रेट है ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए कि उनको इंडियन बॉलर्स से ज्यादा, इंडियन प्लेयर्स से ज्यादा चेन्नई की हीट के बारे में सोचना पड़े?
Yeah, I think a couple of things there. I think because of the Australian players have been acclimatized with the situations for the reason that they have played a lot of IPL. So it's not that they do not know how it is to play in these kind of conditions or in this kind of temperatures. So I think उनको आदत थोड़ी बहुत होगी, लेकिन we cannot also forget the fact कि थोड़ा सा बारिश रहा है इस मैच के बिल्डअप में. So maybe it might not be that hot in Chennai, but of course temperature is something you really cannot have control over, so they would be focusing on trying to what they can control. And I think the kind of character that they have showed after that kind of thumping defeat that they had, not even just in this series but even in the test series, coming back once in Indore, so this team has shown that they have got the capacity and the capability to make a comeback. For India, I think of course they would be under pressure, some sort of pressure, because you can't forget the fact that this is a World Cup year. You're playing at your home, and you would not expect at this stage of the series, even as you know that Australia is a great side, you would not expect India to be having their backs against the wall, which is the case today. So I think they would be slightly under pressure with the teams, because of course it is a decider. You might say that this series does not have a lot of consequence because it does not have bearings otherwise on any sort of points table or any of that kind of a thing. But the fact that it is being played at a venue which is going to host the World Cup. So of course, this was the series which was being seen as an opportunity for both the teams to sort of kind of find of their combinations, fine tune their preparations. To that extent, I think India would be slightly worried because in both the games, this has not been that kind of a series that we usually see in India. Because आप इंडिया में आते हैं तो आपकी उम्मीद होती है कि ज्यादा रन्स होंगे, शायद बैटर्स को ज्यादा फेवर मिलेगा, 300 350, और जो कि रीसेंट पास में हमने ओडीआई में देखा है कि 300 350 रन एक नॉर्म हो गया है. So back to back two games where you are seeing sub 200 totals being scored by the teams with that kind of batting might that India and Australia possess, and then the bowlers dominating the manner in which they have. So I think this has been slightly an eerie, slightly odd kind of a series, you can say. But Chennai, I am expecting a bit more help, for not as much for the pacers as for the spinners, and maybe because we know that this is one of those grounds, not a very high scoring ground, but not as low scoring as some of the other venues either. So I think that both the teams would be trying to kind of rectify those errors, because both the teams have made a plenty in this series and put their best forward in this one.
इंटरेस्टिंगली इस पिच के बारे में बात करते हुए भी कहा गया है कि इट इज गोइंग टू बी अ बैटिंग बेल्टर, बट वो तो टॉस के बाद जब टीम्स खेलेंगी तब पता चलेगा कि किसको ज्यादा मदद मिलती है और कौन कैसा खेल के दिखा पाता है. बट बात करेंगे इस वक्त हेड टू हेड की. इसके पहले टॉस का अपडेट आए, एक बार हेड टू हेड की तरफ नजर डालते हैं और देखते हैं आफ्टर ऑल इंडिया और ऑस्ट्रेलिया का हेड टू हेड क्या कहता है. सो हियर इज द थिंग, 145 मैचेस अभी तक दोनों ही टीम्स ने एक दूसरे के खिलाफ खेले हैं, जिसमें 54 इंडिया ने, 81 ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने, एंड नो रिजल्ट 10 रहे हैं. रुपेश, आई कम टू यू ऑन दिस, सिंस हेड टू हेड अगर इंडिया की बात करें, सो यहाँ पर थोड़ा नेक टू नेक दिखाई पड़ रहा है इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच में. 30 मैचेस इंडिया, 31 मैचेस ऑस्ट्रेलिया, जिसमें मुझे लगता है लास्ट मैच जीत करके ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने इसको एक 1 अप किया है. और इसके अलावा 66 मैचेस खेले हैं, 5 का नो रिजल्ट रहा है. बट ऑल ओवर बात करेंगे रुपेश, तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने अपना डोमिनेंस थोड़ा इंडिया पे दिखाया, बिकॉज डिफरेंस नॉट जस्ट इन इंडिया बट ऑल ओवर अराउंड द वर्ल्ड अगर बात करें तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने काफी अच्छा गेम दिखाया इंडिया के अगेंस्ट.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. I think as far as the head-to-head record is concerned, obviously, there are no points of guessing. Australia have been dominating India for like in the past and for quite some time now. I think the data, it has changed a bit in the last couple of decades, largely in the last decade or so, after the emergence of India as a white ball force in cricket. But then over the years, the kind of squads, the kind of players that Australia have had, and the kind of captains, the kind of leadership group that they have had over the years, I think that has played a major role. Because अगर हम पीछे जाके देखें तो they were blessed with some really tactically brilliant captains. For example, they had the likes of Alan Border, they had the likes of Steve Waugh, they had the likes of Ricky Ponting, and they also had, like, they were blessed with some really good players over the years. Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath, all these players, Adam Gilchrist, Matthew Hayden, they knew how to perform across conditions, not only down under in Australia, but also like they were really good. They were a really good touring party. सो उसकी वजह से हमें ये जो हेड टू हेड रिकॉर्ड अभी दिख रहा है, आई थिंक लार्जली उसी की वजह से एमएस एंड सौरव गांगुली की कप्तानी करने के बाद से थोड़ा सा फर्क पड़ा है. तभी इंडिया में आप देख सकते हो कि रिकॉर्ड फिर भी थोड़ा सा फेयर एंड स्क्वायर है. लेकिन हाँ, लाइक अगर आउटसाइड इंडिया देखें तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने क्लियरली डोमिनेट किया.
राइट. और इसी बीच डिस्कशन के बीच टॉस अपडेट हो चुका है, सिंस ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने टॉस जीत करके पहले बैटिंग करने का फैसला लिया है. ये टॉस कितना इम्पैक्ट करेगा प्रत्यय इस मैच में, बिकॉज ये डिसाइडर है और यहाँ पर हम कुछ भी लूज आउट नहीं करना चाहते हैं. सो हाउ दिस टॉस इज गोना इम्पैक्ट द मैच?
I'm a little surprised, I think, because I was thinking that the team would be preferring to chase. Whichever teams win the toss, they would be preferring to chase. But maybe again, as I said of World Cup, both these teams we know, India and Australia, have been known for their chasing prowess, because these are teams जिनको आप जानते हैं अगर उनके सामने target होता है तो बहुत ज़्यादा easily batters हैं. Because if you look at the batting depth, both the sides have batters coming up until number 7, 8, even 9 in some of the 11s. So I think that could be one of the reasons, perhaps, why Steven Smith would have chosen to maybe give themselves a chance to defend the target, because defending has been a little bit difficult for even India and most of the other sides in this part of the world. So I think that could be one of the reasons. But yes, for regarding the fact of toss and how the series has panned out, I think India would be worried with one thing, with their power play bowling in particular, because if you look at the previous game, we haven't been able to pick up wickets. Australia mauling us by 10 wickets. Even in the first game, there was a partnership that built. They were around 120, 130 for 2. So I think the biggest hurdle for the Indians at this moment would be to try to get some early wickets, because because as I said, as rain in the build-up, or you might expect the ball to zip around a little bit at the start. Of course, Chennai is not one of those tracks where you would be expecting a lot of that kind of movement or that kind of sea movement that we saw in, say, Mumbai or Vizag. But still, as far as the ball is new, I think that there should be some help for the pacers before the spinners start to come into the game.
राइट और ये डिस्कशन पूरा एकदम अधूरा रह जाएगा अगर हमने मिचेल स्टार्क के बारे में बात नहीं की द वे ही हैज बीन बॉलिंग इन दिस सीरीज पर्टिकुलरली बट जहां तक उनकी बॉलिंग का सवाल है रुपेश शुभमन गिल और सूर्य कुमार यादव इन दोनों का विकेट एक बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल डिलीवरी डाल करके मिचेल स्टार्क ने लिया था और उन डिलीवरीज की देन है कि शुभमन गिल और सूर्य कुमार यादव को थ्रो डाउन्स लेने पड़े हैं लेफ्ट आर्म थ्रो डाउन्स लेने पड़े हैं ताकि उनको आइडिया लगे कि हाउ टू टैकल मिचेल स्टार्क बट यू रियली थिंक इट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प देम बिकॉज मिचेल स्टार्क इज समवन जो एक बहुत ही स्किल्ड बॉलर है जो सिर्फ थ्रो डाउन के थ्रू क्रैक तो नहीं किए जा सकते बट व्हाट आर योर थॉट्स ऑन दिस
I think first and foremost, we need to doff our hats to the way Mitchell Stark has bowled so far in the series, because he's Australia's spearhead bowler, obviously, and he's someone who has been doing it for quite some time now. And World Cup year में पता नहीं, like Mitchell Stark becomes this totally different beast altogether. अगर हम 2015 देखें, they were playing like obviously in their own backyard, host कर रहे थे with New Zealand as co-hosts. ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए मिचेल स्टार्क वाज अ फोर्स टू बी रेकन्ड विद थ्रू आउट देयर कैंपेन. बहुत अच्छी बॉलिंग की थी उन्होंने, उन कंडीशंस को यूटिलाइज किया था बहुत सही तरीके से. इन एडिशन टू दैट वी आल्सो सॉ हाउ ही इंपैक्टेड ऑस्ट्रेलियाज कैंपेन ड्यूरिंग द 2019 वर्ल्ड कप इन इंग्लैंड एंड वेल्स. He single-handedly almost carried Australia's bowling attack till the semi-finals. Unfortunately, they lost to eventual champions England. But again, like Mitchell Stark is someone who's known for like his pace, and the thing that has worked in his favor so far in the series is that he has been able to extract that lateral movement earlier on with the new ball. And unfortunately, like our Indian batters have not been able to cope up with the same. They've not been able to negate that swing and counter that. So obviously, like Mitchell Stark, someone who is that tall, and when he's steaming in 145 k's per hour, 150 clicks, it becomes really difficult if there is even slightest of movement available for someone like Mitchell Stark. He is going to create an impact. जहां तक बात हमारे बैटर्स की है उनको काउंटर करने के लिए, ऑब्वियसली चेन्नई में यू कैन एक्सपेक्ट कि थोड़े से कंडीशंस मुश्किल होंगे फॉर समवन लाइक मिचेल स्टार्क, बिकॉज उतना मूवमेंट होगा नहीं. विकेट एट चेन्नई इज एक्चुअली नोन टू असिस्ट स्पिनर्स मोर देन पेसर्स. सो यू कैन एक्सपेक्ट कि स्टार्क शायद उतना इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट ना कर पाए, बट एज वी ऑल नो दैट ही इज अ वर्ल्ड क्लास बॉलर, so he might spring up a surprise. But yeah, like as far as Shubman Gill and Surya are concerned, Shubman got out to the away going deliveries and Surya got out to the in swinging deliveries. तो जहां तक थ्रो डाउन्स की बात है, ऑब्वियसली लाइक दैट श्रीलंकन थ्रो डाउन स्पेशलिस्ट थोड़ा सा जब एंगल बाहर की तरफ जाता है उसमें हेल्प हो सकता है, बट दैट नेचुरल इन स्विंग दैट अ लेफ्ट आर्म सीमर गेट्स with the new ball, I think you cannot replicate that same scenario during throw downs and batting drills. So I think utna madad nahi milega, but yeah, that angle which goes away, the left arm angle from the right handed batter, I think in that aspect it can help to a certain extent.
या बेसिकली एक यही तरीका रह गया है अभी फिलहाल मिचेल स्टार्क को समझने का या उनको टैकल करने का. इसके अलावा और कुछ खास कर नहीं सकते. बाकी तो जब आप बॉल फेस करेंगे आप तभी ग्रो करेंगे और तभी समझ में आएगा कि हाउ टू प्ले मिचेल स्टार्क. बट यहाँ पर बात करते हैं प्लेइंग 11 की. जिस तरह के चेंजेस ऑस्ट्रेलिया टीम ने दिखाए, इंडिया एकदम अनचेंज रही है. रोहित शर्मा ने बताया है उनके, अगर प्लेइंग 11 की बात करें तो द कैप्टन उनके साथ शुभमन गिल, देन नंबर 3 पे विराट कोहली, आफ्टरवर्ड सूर्य कुमार यादव, केएल राहुल, हार्दिक पांड्या, रविंद्र जडेजा, अक्षर पटेल, कुलदीप यादव, मोहम्मद सिराज एंड मोहम्मद शमी. इसके अलावा ऑस्ट्रेलिया की प्लेइंग 11 की बात करेंगे तो डेविड वार्नर, ट्रेविस हेड, Stephen Smith, Manas Labuschagne, Alex Carey, Mitchell Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Ashton Agar, Sean Abbott and Mitchell Stark और Adam Zampa. So changes की बात करेंगे तो Ashton Agar is back और इसके अलावा David Warner और Cameron Green is unwell तो उनको नहीं रखा है but David Warner is back as well. प्रत्येक बात करेंगे इस प्लेइंग 11 की चेंजेस के साथ कि आप खुश हैं या टीम इंडिया सेम प्लेइंग 11 के साथ जा रही है कि आप इस बात से खुश हैं? Are the changes good?
I think India, maybe they could have bought in Washington Sundar because the kind of things he knows about Chennai, he is a local guy, and the kind of prowess he has. And I was even talking about the power play bowling, which India is struggling with a little bit. And we know that Washington Sundar is someone who has a knack of picking wickets in the power play or in the early overs of the innings. Although that is something that he does in T20 cricket, but perhaps he could have tried, could have been thrown the ball in ODIs as well, and that could have maybe worked for India, because this has been a concern for India, not being able to pick up wickets with the new ball, something that Australia has been doing extremely well in this series in both the games so far. So I think that could have been one of the changes, but maybe I think the reason of not changing is that because the series is on the line. If you have clinched the series, you kind of have the confidence that now you can start giving the chances to the people on the bench, maybe give them a little bit of game time. But because with the series is on the line, I think India might not have wanted to tinker with the combination that have been playing in the past two games. For Australia, I think yes, if Cameron Green unwell, if it's a forced change, then of course you can't say anything about that because he's unfit and he's not available to play. But there would be pressure, a lot of it on both Agar and Warner, because we know what happened with Ashton Agar in the Test series, not getting chances to play. A
Yeah.
couple of young spinners, Todd Murphy, Matthew Kuhneman, being preferred over him, then him being sent back to Australia. So yes, he would be having that bit of pressure on him to just kind of come back to the 11 and perform. But then this is his more suited format. I mean, this white ball cricket is something that him, Adam Zampa, these players have been able to perform exceedingly well in the recent past, and they have kind of established themselves as one of the vital cogs of the team. So I think he would just want to come back into the game. And as I said, that any opportunity that you are getting to play in the subcontinent right now, every single ball that you're going to bowl on these pitches in these conditions is going to be a golden opportunity for you, because it's not too long, 4 5 months later you have to do the same. As for Warner, I think again, coming after an injury, couple of test matches that he played, there have been questions over his place in the team, whether he should continue playing test cricket or not. There are those kind of pressures as well. And not to forget the fact that he had the couple of test matches that he played, wasn't been able to leave a mark in that, had to miss out on the second half of the series because of the injury, then not getting a chance to play the previous couple of games. And in that, you see what Marsh and Head have done at the top of the order. Taking nothing away, I think the duo with Warner as well, he is someone who is absolutely irreplaceable when it comes to white ball cricket for Australia at the top of the order. But there is pressure because of the World Cup year, because of his own form being slightly jittery of late. So I think, yes, both of the players, this is a great opportunity. I don't think that if Cameron Green was unwell, maybe Australia would not have tried to bring in Warner, for another reason that there's IPL coming, there's going to be plenty of workload. So we don't really know if you kind of rush him back into action and then if injury kind of exceeds or aggravates. So I think this is an important game for him, and if he can do something out of this game, that would give him a lot of confidence, because with the IPL and then a few games in August for Australia ahead of the World Cup, he would definitely want to make this game count.
Right, and before we discuss more, इसके पहले एक बार देख लेते हैं players to watch out of this particular match from Australia and India. India के end से शुभमन गिल को player to watch out मान रहे हैं because he has played 23 matches जिसमें उन्होंने runs बनाए हैं अभी 1274, highest है उनका 208 जो हमने उनकी double century देखी, and afterwards उनका hundreds and fifties का ratio है 4:5. Next बात करेंगे player to watch out from Australia's, and that is Adam Zampa. 78 matches he has played, 127 wickets he has taken, और उनका 4 wicket haul और 5 wicket haul का रेशियो है 6:1. रुपेश, प्लेयर टू वॉच आउट में एडम जैम्पा एंड शुभमन गिल, डू यू सी दिस एज गुड नेम्स? क्या हम इनसे वाकई एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं इस मैच में, जो कि एक डिसाइडर है, एक अच्छा प्रेशर मैच है, और शुभमन गिल से हम या एडम जैम्पा से एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं टू प्ले एज पर देयर रोल?
I think absolutely, because as far as Shubman Gill is concerned, I think Shubman Gill obviously off late उन्होंने बहुत ही ज़्यादा runs करे हैं, and that's the reason why almost certain है वो कि World Cup squad का हिस्सा होंगे इंडिया के, and he will be opening alongside skipper Rohit Sharma. Recently he scored a double ton in ODI cricket, and test matches में उनको opportunities मिली, like बांग्लादेश में मिली, He scored a century in Bangladesh, recently scored a century against Australia at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad as well. So I think he has made the most out of every single opportunity that has come his way. So obviously, Shubman Gill is someone to watch out for. Absolutely, yes. Unfortunately, has been tad bit unlucky initially when you are facing someone like Mitchell Stark with the new ball. It can go either way, because you also have to acknowledge that someone like Mitchell Stark, the kind of stature that the guy has, and he has delivered for Australia day in day out, like he has been doing it for quite some time now. So when you are up against someone like Mitchell Stark with the new ball, then it can go either way. So but again, like Shubman Gill, with the kind of red hot form that he has displayed recently, आप उम्मीद करोगे कि वो इंडिया को एक अच्छा स्टार्ट दें. Initial, it's he just has to see through the new ball, and if he manages to do that, I think he will again score big today. Hopefully he does. I think the Indian camp will must be hoping about that. As far as Adam Zampa is concerned, हमने Zampa I feel is very underrated, to be really honest with you. Because he obviously does not play red ball cricket at all for Australia. He only plays white ball cricket. He has delivered the goods for the Kangaroos for quite some time now. He's been doing it for quite some time now. He has done exceedingly well in the Indian subcontinent conditions against India. If I remember thoroughly that he had troubled Virat Kohli a lot when India toured, Australia toured India back in 2019, right ahead of the ODI World Cup in England. Australia toured for a 5 ODI match series. और उस टाइम पे he literally had the wood over विराट कोहली. बहुत परेशान किया था उन्होंने. He's someone who is not afraid at all when it comes to giving flight to the batters. Because हम देखते हैं अभी जिस तरीके से व्हाइट बॉल क्रिकेट चल रही है, बहुत ज्यादा बड़े बड़े स्कोर्स खड़े होते हैं हर मैचेस में. तो थोड़े स्पिनर्स फ्राइटेंड हो जाते हैं, उतना एयर देना नहीं चाहते, बॉल को फ्लाइट नहीं करना चाहते, थोड़ी फ्लैटर ट्रैजेक्टरी डालना चाहते हैं. बट एडम जैम्पा ऑन द कॉन्ट्ररी is someone who gives the ball a lot of air and also has quite a lot of variations up his sleeve. So I think, and also Chennai is traditionally known to assist spinners a lot. तो Zampa को अगर थोड़े से भी spin friendly conditions मिलेंगे, I think he can come into play and he can come into the equation and can be lethal. So yeah, like both players will be crucial for their own teams, and let's hope that it turns out to be an extremely intriguing contest to watch.
डेफिनेटली. और जब भी इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया आमने सामने होता है तो एक इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्टेस्ट तो हम एक्सपेक्ट करते ही हैं. प्रत्येक एक कमेंट था जहीर खान के एंड से कि थर्ड ओडीआई जीतने का जो उन्होंने अपना तरीका बताया था, एंड दैट वाज कि इसको एक टेस्ट मैच की अप्रोच थे. इस थर्ड ओडीआई को आराम से खेले, सोच समझ कर खेले, जल्दबाजी ना करे, बेसिकली ये उन्होंने अपना सजेशन दिया था. बट डू यू सी दिस कि आजकल के ओडीआईज में अगर आप टेस्ट मैच अप्रोच अपनाते हैं तो इट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प यू, या ये आपको उल्टा परेशान कर सकता है? बिकॉज डिसाइडर है और यहाँ पर आपको एक्सपेरिमेंट करना क्या चलेगा?
देखिए, मुझे लगता है सीरीज है ऑन द लाइंस. ऑफ कोर्स प्रेशर दोनों साइड्स पे होगा, लेकिन टू सम एक्सटेंट आई वुड एग्री विद दैट स्टेटमेंट फॉर द सिंपल रीजन क्योंकि T20 क्रिकेट के बाद से क्योंकि इतना ज्यादा हैवी डाइट पर है सारे प्लेयर्स T20 क्रिकेट की कि शायद जब आप ODIs में आते हैं, which is you can say a hybrid of T20 and Test cricket, so you have to make few amendments to how you bat. Of course, the value of wickets would be highest in Test cricket, would be the lowest in T20Is. But here, understanding that balance is extremely important. And what we have seen even in these two games in the series is that you are not really seeing teams batting 40, 45, or even 50 overs. They are getting out. I mean, in the previous game, all the games that we've seen have been rather short. 200 balls, 120 balls left to spare, before which the targets are being spared and being chased down. So I think it is important for the players to also understand the fact that T20 क्रिकेट में आपके वैल्यूज जो विकेट्स की होती है वो उतनी ज्यादा कम होती जाती है क्योंकि वहां पे रन स्कोरिंग पे आपका पूरा फोकस होता है. बट इन ODI जहां आपको 50 ओवर खेलने हैं, वहां पे इट इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट कि आप अपने कोटा को एटलीस्ट पूरा यूटिलाइज करें. In that sense, I think it is important to play a little bit like Test cricket. It's not always that you have to attack, but it's not always like you have to defend as well. Because there was a template of ODIs that we used to see in that time 10-15 years ago, when you would see कि पावर प्ले में रन्स बनेंगे शुरुआत के 10 ओवर्स में, बीच में थोड़ा सा एक सेडेट फेज आता है जब शायद 15 से 40 ओवर के बीच में उतने ज्यादा रन्स नहीं आते, And then when the power play changes started to come in, you would see that the teams would start to the finishers, the likes of MS Dhoni's, Yuvraj Singh's for India, they would start to take over control of the game, and overs number 40 to 50 के साथ में आप जाकर के देखेंगे कि वहां पे बहुत तेजी से रन्स बनते थे. But that is something that we have seen. I think there has not been entirely a tectonic shift, but yes, you are seeing that that template is not being followed by the teams any longer, for the simple reason that most of the teams, if you take the likes of England or even Australia, to some extent even India in the recent past, in the last 1 year or so, because we have seen that a lot of cricketers have been talking about playing aggressive cricket, showing intent. So in that, perhaps somewhere down the line, that kind of the ethos of ODI cricket has started to lose a little bit, not entirely, but it has eroded just that little bit. And for that, you will have to bring that a little bit of test matchness into it, for the simple reason that this is not a format which is test cricket, but this is not a format which is T20 cricket either. And even in the last two games, if you see, I think any batter, any partnership which could have at least stayed onto the crease for 100 balls, it might have allowed India to score a lot more runs. Even in the first game, Australia, the start was pretty good, but then you saw that the kind of shots a few of their batters played, it did not merit the situation, because you are trying to go after the bowling when you are perhaps say 100 for 4. You would not want to play an aerial shot, maybe try to play a grounded shot, try to get yourself in, take a few dot balls, it does not hurt because you have 300 to play with, and then try to build a partnership and take the game forward. So that element has suddenly gone missing, for the simple reason that there is so much franchise based cricket, there's so much T20s happening, that maybe the mindset of all the batters is to just keep the pedal on the accelerator all the time, 24 into 7. Just try to score runs, not value their wickets enough. I think it won't harm if you try to just take a bit of time, because this is ODI cricket, this is the luxury which it affords you. And if you're not being able to use that, you're basically squandering away a great chance to be out in the middle and play for longer durations, which is ultimately what is going to give you confidence. So I think, yes, of course, if the situation demands, if the pitch is a belter, no one is asking you to block the ball. But if it is that kind of pitch that we have seen in Mumbai, in Vizag, or even to an extent that I'm expecting in Chennai, going into a zone for a little while, maybe 10, 15 overs, playing a little bit like test match cricket, finding the odd boundaries, just trying to milk the runs and score at a free pace, build a partnership, that is not going to hurt. So I think, yes, that could be a great approach to adopt, and more so because the series is on the line. So both the teams will have to kind of figure out how they have to play with their combinations and try to win the series.
राइट और जब हम लोग डिस्कस कर रहे थे इस पिच के बारे में, प्रत्यय मुझे एक डिस्कशन याद आया मेरा रुपेश का, जो कि मैच से पहले हो रहा था, इस डिस्कशन से पहले हो रहा था. लेट मी गिव यू अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ बैकग्राउंड. सो आई वाज जस्ट सिंपली आस्किंग रुपेश कि चेन्नई में क्या बहुत सारे रन्स बन सकते हैं क्या, बिकॉज एज फॉर्मर क्रिकेटर्स आर सेइंग कि हम एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि पहले की दो पिचेस काफी टफ थी. सो रुपेश ने वहां पे बड़ा ही इंटरेस्टिंग कमेंट दिया था. आई वुड लाइक रुपेश टू टेल हियर कि रुपेश क्यों टफ नहीं थी वो पिचेस दो, या टफ थी तो इंडिया का क्या अप्रोच था उस पर. मैं आपका कमेंट फिर से लूंगी यहाँ पे, जो आपने मुझसे डिस्कशन से पहले कहा था.
Right. So, like, I think जिस तरीके से in the past decade or so, the whole concept of playing white ball cricket has changed. उसकी वजह से हम expect करते हैं batters को कि सारे matches जो भी होंगे उसमें they'll dictate terms to the bowlers, and उस पे फिर ऐसा हो जाता है कि like I have personally observed in the last decade or so कि जो भी wickets बन रही हैं they are more or so batting belters. एंड फ्लैट ट्रैक बुलीज, ये सारी टर्मिनोलॉजीज हमें सुनने को मिलती हैं काफी ज्यादा, associated with a lot of batters and a lot of teams in particular. I remember I think a couple of months back I watched Ben Stokes's documentary which is available on Prime Video. तो उसमें आई रिमेंबर एक स्निपेट था उसमें, आई थिंक स्टोक्स वाज bowling in West Indies to a batter, I think it was Blackwood, and उस पे after bowling one delivery he just walks up to Blackwood and says कि do you think that we are flat track bullies and everything, all of that. So मुझे लगता है कि अभी जिस तरीके से विकेट्स बनना शुरू हो गई हैं पिछले डेकेड और सो में, थोड़ा बैटर्स पे ओनस ज्यादा है हर मैच में परफॉर्म करने का, और उसमें इफ यू आर अप अगेंस्ट समवन लाइक मिचेल स्टार्क एंड थोड़ी से कंडीशंस अगर उनके फेवर में होते हैं तो दे एंड अप मेकिंग एन इम्पैक्ट, and that's when we see that teams often collapse and undergo a massive collapse. And फिर क्वेश्चंस उठना शुरू हो जाते हैं ऑल ऑफ अ सडन कि आर दे गुड एनफ एंड एवरीथिंग। विकेट बहुत ज्यादा मुश्किल थी, बहुत ही ज्यादा अडैप्ट करना बहुत ज्यादा मुश्किल हो गया था। आई डोंट अग्री विद दैट टू अ वेरी to a larger extent, because see, as far as Vizag is concerned, I think personally I believe that you can only judge the wicket and the conditions after both teams have already batted in those conditions and on that wicket. So we saw how Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh went about their own approach, and उन्होंने like जिस तरीके से बैटिंग की लगा कि इस विकेट पे कुछ नहीं है। वानखेड़े में अगेन थोड़ा सा लैटरल मूवमेंट अवेलेबल था इनिशियली, एंड वो हमें देखने को मिला। ऑस्ट्रेलियंस आल्सो देयर टॉप ऑर्डर स्ट्रगल्ड, our top order also struggled a lot. But then when you apply yourself the way KL Rahul and Ravindra Jadeja, to an extent Hardik also did in the first ODI, we saw how they were able to cruise along, okay, and they were able to take India across the line. So I think बहुत ज्यादा मसाला लगा के लोग आजकल बोलते भी हैं, थोड़ा सा भी अगर मूवमेंट अवेलेबल होती है तो, कि नहीं बहुत ज्यादा टफ कंडीशंस थे एंड एवरीथिंग। आई डोंट रियली अग्री विद दैट। आई थिंक द बैटर्स नीड टू अप्लाई देमसेल्व्स मोर, बिकॉज यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू गेट यू नो belters every now and then. थोड़े कंडीशंस इधर उधर मुश्किल तो होंगे, you just have to apply yourself and that's it.
राइट, और बहुत डिप्लोमेटिक रहे, टेक्निकली रुपेश ने इस बात को संभाला है। प्रत्यय, आई टेल यू जेन्युइन रिएक्शन क्या था रुपेश का, दैट वाज लाइक ओ टफ हो गया। जरा सा भी मूवमेंट अगर आया तो ओ टफ हो गया। दिस वाज हाउ लाइक बैटर्स अभी बिहेव कर रहे हैं एज पर रुपेश, कि जरा सा भी मूवमेंट मिलता है तो उनको लगता है नहीं चैलेंजिंग है, टफ हो गया, ये मुश्किल थी पिच। खैर, मूविंग ऑन फ्रॉम दिस डिस्कशन, प्रत्यय और रुपेश, मैं आप दोनों से इस एक मैटर पे आपका ओपिनियन लेना चाहूंगी। ऑस्ट्रेलिया टीम के एंड से हम देखते आ रहे हैं कि जिस तरह से मिचेल मार्श उनकी एक जगह बन गई थी ऑस्ट्रेलियन टीम में, बट आफ्टरवर्ड्स जब उनकी इंजरी हुई, आफ्टरवर्ड्स कैमरून ग्रीन का राइज हुआ, तो ऐसा माना जा रहा था कि कैमरून ग्रीन की वजह से काफी इम्पैक्ट हुआ है मिचेल मार्श की पोजीशन को। सिंस ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप कमिंग अप है, तो उसके नजरिए को देखते हुए रुपेश, मैं आपसे पहले पूछूंगी कि क्या आपको लगता है कि मिचेल मार्श का जो प्लेस था उसको थोड़ा खतरे में डाला है कैमरून ग्रीन ने, और अगर डाला है तो उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या रहा है मिचेल मार्श के ऊपर?
So I personally feel that the way like Cameron Green, the moment he firstly burst onto the scene, he was touted as the next big thing in Australian cricket. I have heard it from Ricky Ponting, Justin Langer, like people from across cricketing nations. They have hailed Cameron Green very high, and he is like being recognized as the one to watch out for in the future for sure. There are people who even consider him a Jack Callis under construction. I don't know whether that's going to be the case a few years down the line, but yeah, like the expectations are really high. And obviously, like he has not played a lot, but then he has toured. Like Australia toured Sri Lanka recently. He played a really good knock under challenging conditions against Sri Lankan spinners test match में, and थोड़ा सा तो उन्होंने बिल्कुल मतलब he has made his case really stronger, and that's the reason why Mitchell Marsh, being a fellow fast bowling all-rounder, I think he has fallen back slightly in that race as far as the race to be a part of the Australia's ODI World Cup squad for the 2023 tournament is concerned. But I think it has had a positive impact on Mitchell Marsh, because he recently opened up in an interview and said that he had to undergo a surgery, ankle surgery. It kept him out of the game for 3 months, back to back. And at the same point of time, Cameron Green was also ruled out because he picked up an injury during the home series against South Africa test matches. And उस टाइम पे the interviewer like asked Mitchell Marsh कि अगर उन्होंने अपनी सर्जरी को थोड़ा सा पुश किया होता बाद के लिए and खेले होते, तो maybe he could have made his own case very stronger. But Mitchell Marsh has also he has realized the fact that affect तो हुआ है उनकी performance को, because they are more or less contesting for the same spot. But I think if you look at his recent performances, I'm talking about Mitchell Marsh, he made his return. Sheffield Shield mein he scored 100. Marsh One-Day Cup mein he also chipped in with some crucial knocks. And he was not coming in with a lot of cricket leading into this ODI series against India, but he has just hit the ground running, and he has delivered for Australia with the bat. Bowling करते हमने उतना देखा नहीं है, जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ी है क्योंकि स्टार्क ने अकेले डिमोलिश कर दिया है। राइट। सो मैं तो बस यही कहूंगा कि पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट रहा है कैमरन ग्रीन के राइज का मिचेल मार्श पे, एंड आई होप कि इससे ऑस्ट्रेलिया को फायदा हो, बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वी बीइंग क्रिकेट फैंस वी जस्ट वांट टू विटनेस क्वालिटी क्रिकेट, एंड आई थिंक दोनों बहुत क्रूशियल होंगे ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए लीडिंग इनटू द ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप।
Right. Or Pratyay, your thoughts on this?
See, I think yes, there is pressure, of course, on him because see, जब आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया, इंग्लैंड और इंडिया की बात करते हैं, ये तीन टीम्स ऐसी हैं जिनके पास में प्लेयर डेप्थ बहुत ज्यादा है। आपके पास हर एक स्पॉट के लिए शायद तीन या कभी-कभी चार प्लेयर्स भी फाइट करते हुए दिखेंगे। So of course, when one and specifically given the fact that you are talking about Marsh, who is an all-rounder, and when one of your skill set is being unused and you are not being able to bring that to the fore, like he's not being able to bowl at the moment because of his workload management and injury issues, and that too after coming after an injury. So it is important for him to not just perform with the bat, but with the ball as well. Because I'm not entirely sure whether Australia would be able to play him as a specialist batter in the 11, which is something that they are doing at the moment because of various reasons. Because there are already a few players who are not available in the side. Because you do not have, because there are so many players, you might as well even forget there's no Josh Hazelwood, there's no Pat Cummins. They are going to come as well in this team, and that is going to take away two or three spots, and these are players that you are necessarily going to play because no matter what the amount of experience they have, one of them is your captain, things like that, they are inevitable. So when you are ultimately you could be having 40 or 50 players pool, but ultimately you are going to play on any given day only 11 players. So I think the amount of pressure on Mitchell Marsh is a little high at the moment, not just because of Green, but because of see how many all-rounders Australia have at this moment itself. The batting Maxwell coming out at number 8, 7, 8 is something that you perhaps would not have imagined even 3 years ago. But that is the kind of riches they have been able to develop in the recent past, thanks to their own leagues, thanks to the IPL, thanks to the kind of performances players have given in their Australian domestic setup as well. So I think it's a very, very competitive and a cruelly competitive space to be in. At the moment, if you are Mitchell Marsh, the only thing that you would be wanting to do is to score as many runs as you can in whichever position you are being given. And to that extent, he has done exceedingly well for the simple reason that he has been asked to bat at number 3, number 4. He has done that in the past. He has slightly played the role of a finisher on occasions. Now he's opening, he is doing that as well. If he can start to bowl, maybe, and if he can get back into his elements on that front as well, I think he is one of the players that you would definitely not want to bench. But then, as I said, that being an Australia selector or an India selector is never going to be easy because no matter whom you pick, you will always have a feeling. And specifically, if the results do not go your way, if they do go your way, of course, the analysis it takes a back seat. But hindsight is something that teaches you a lot. And when you start to look back at things that where did we go wrong, maybe this player instead of that, maybe a fast bowling all rounder instead of a spin bowling all rounder. These kind of things start to come into play. But at the moment, as I said, that Mitchell Marsh, the thing is that it would be fair to assess and judge him if you are competing him against or pitting him against Cameron Green when he starts to bowl because he's playing as a specialist batter, whereas Cameron Green at the moment is more of an all rounder for you. Perhaps it would not be a very fair comparison to make, but no doubt, I think he is a champion cricketer. He has performed well over the last, and again, one of the players who has somewhat flown under the radar because Mitchell Marsh would not perhaps be one of the names that would instantly come to your mind whenever you're talking about Australian all-rounders. But that has been the kind of impact that he has been able to create because he has won Australia games with the ball, with the bat, with his all-round abilities, time and time again. But he is still pitted up against players of the quality of Glenn Maxwell, of the quality of Cameron Green, and of course, then it becomes very difficult for you to slot yourself in. So I think until and unless he starts to use both his skills at the moment currently, because we are constantly talking about the World Cup, because all these series, everything that is happening at the moment is you are having one of your eye on the World Cup because it's a World Cup year. So until and unless he starts to bring in both of his skill sets onto the board, it would be hard for him to be assessed. But at the moment, with the bat, the kind of form he has shown, Rupesh correctly mentioned the domestic form in the Marsh Cup and Sheffield Shield. Now a couple of half centuries in this series. I think he has been pretty top notch with the bat at least.
राइट और इसी के साथ एक बार सोशल ट्रैकर की तरफ नजर डालते हैं बिकॉज डिस्कशन में तो सब कुछ कवर हो गया है बट दुनिया में आफ्टर ऑल सोशल मीडिया पे लोग क्या बातें करें इस मैच के बारे में एक बार वो देख लेते हैं बैक टू बैक ट्वीट्स सो सबसे पहला ट्वीट हम देखेंगे यहाँ पे ओके सो सबसे पहला ट्वीट सागर का, बोथ ऑफ देम प्लेड सरप्राइजिंगली वेल फॉर इंडिया दिस वीक. केएल राहुल और केन विलियमसन के बारे में बात हो रही है, बिकॉज वी ऑल नो केन विलियमसन जैसे श्रीलंका के अगेंस्ट खेला, श्रीलंका का चांसेस वहां पर उन्होंने गवाए और इंडिया को मौका दिया. द वे ही हैज प्लेड, सो डेफिनेटली उससे इंडिया को मौका मिला WTC फाइनल खेलने का. नेक्स्ट ट्वीट के बारे में बात करेंगे. Once upon a time in the history of cricket team, Aussie saw the real destruction. And definitely ये वो मैच है रुपेश जिसके बारे में हम लोग बात कर रहे थे. 2013 का मैच जयपुर में हुआ था, सेकंड ODI उस सीरीज का, और इंडिया ने ये मुकाबले में खेलते हुए हमारे टॉप ऑर्डर ने धज्जियां उड़ा दी थी ऑस्ट्रेलियन बॉलिंग लाइनअप की. इसके अलावा एक लास्ट ट्वीट के बारे में बात करेंगे. दैट इज, रूमर्स हैज it that two senior players are insecure having Sanju Samson in the lineup as he gets more support from fan than themselves. So एक WhatsApp यूनिवर्सिटी से उड़ती हुई खबर, और इसी के साथ एंड होता है हमारा सोशल ट्रैकर का. और डेफिनेटली रुपेश एंड प्रत्यय, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस. सिंस मैच स्टार्ट हो चुका है एंड वी ऑल हैव टू मूव ऑन एंड देन सी कि क्या हुआ, एंड आफ्टरवर्ड्स डिस्कशन के लिए जरूर जुड़ेंगे. सभी फैंस का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, एक अच्छे नंबर्स के साथ हमारा स्वागत हुआ है सोशल मीडिया पे, और इस लाइव डिस्कशन का पार्ट बने सभी फैंस. मैं, प्रत्यय और रुपेश आप सभी का तहे दिल से स्वागत करते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर joining us. Keep watching CricTracker and do follow us on all the social media platforms and follow our website too.